Hi everyone, I am Jackie of SEP Group PG23. I am here to present to you the review of the software requirement specification document for our group project. The project's main focus is to build a prototype lunar rover using a LEGO EV3 Mindstorm kit provided by the Uni Adelaide. The purpose of the software is to track and find the remnants of Apollo 17 on the Moon while survey the terrain traversed by the robot during the mission. The purpose of this presentation is to review the software requirement specification document and identify any issue which may cause misunderstanding and queries about the requirements of the project. The review will also ensure the users, project managers, developers, and testers will be given the requirements in an organized, complete, and correct structure with a high level of quality, which will effectively ensure the users have all the appropriate requirements met. The SRS is also important in assisting the development and testing of the software component of the project. This review will cover 5 key sections which will uniquely identify each section of the SRS requirements. These sections include organization and completeness, correctness, quality attributes, traceability, and special issues. Organization and completeness. The SRS was successfully completed based on all the customer's requirements for the project that were recorded up until the document's submission date. The requirements listed in the SRS are consistent in layout but does not contain the appropriate level of detail required. The introductory section of the document is partially completed as the document convention section for the SRS was not included. As a result, the requirements were not properly cross-referenced with one another. The overall requirements for the project were described in the SRS but were not organized based on the priorities of the requirements as it was not included as well. This deemed that the timing of the development of the project is hard to follow. While the requirements of the hardware, software, and communication interfaces were all well defined, they were not described in detail. Since the team has not started testing of the software, there were no error conditions specified in the SRS. Correctness. All the requirements of the SRS were reviewed during team meetings before documented to remove any duplicates and conflicts between each requirement. Each of the requirements contain distinct description which explains the meaning and attributes of said requirements. Each requirements were sourced either from the project specification, client meeting, or group discussion. They each contain no grammatical errors, written in concise general description, and fit within the project scope. The requirements were also implemented with design constraint of the project. While the main points of the requirements were mentioned in the SRS, all the requirements' key details such as priority, rationale, and source were either not included or not specified. The missing requirements are not listed as to be done. No error messages were specified within the document as there are no use cases included for the testing for each requirements. Quality attributes. Since the team were still in the design stage of the software, the major non-functional requirements were not specified in the SRS, hence there are no performance objectives or requirements, safety and security considerations listed during the documentation. Traceability. This SRS lacks in the internal cross-referencing system as there are no unique identification numbers given to each of the requirements. This may render the user difficult to trace or source the mentioned requirements in SRS. The dependencies of the requirements were not implemented as the requirements themselves lack priority details as well. Special issues. All the requirements specified in the SRS are explicitly defined as such and do not correlate to the design or implementation solutions of the project. The SRS does not specify any time-critical criteria or functions. These details should be included in the future as it would assist the development team in the design and implementation of time-critical functions such as mapping speed and the sorting speed. As far as it goes, there are no standards that needs to be followed for the project development. In conclusion, the SRS lacked in structure and details regarding the project. Although the requirements were clearly identified and listed in the SRS, they are not elaborated in a clear, concise, unambiguous language such that it fits the criteria required in the documentation. The requirements also require a consistent cross-reference system that allows users to easily refer to a particular requirements mentioned in the SRS. The requirements needs to be elaborated with the following sections included to improve the documentation and provide a clear description for users in the future. The sections are priorities and the source. Priorities in the requirements is important as it will provide a rough idea to the development stage of the software and to help identify the dependencies hierarchy of each requirement. Source is also required to ensure traceability. The SRS should also include well-defined use cases for the requirements testing. Additionally, the SRS should also include the non-functional requirements such as performance requirements, safety, security, software quality attributes, and any other additional requirements. More details are required for the interfaces as well. In overall, the SRS is poorly organized and requires extensive improvement in terms of structure, quality, and detail writing in order to properly communicate the software requirements of the project. Thank you.